Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at the patch notes for patch 4.01. It's like 1 in the morning and my girlfriend's trying to sleep, so this is going to be ASMR of the realm. Hopefully you guys don't mind. But anyway, patch 4.01, people have been expecting some job balance changes. We'll go over those in a little bit. On top of that, we have Omega, the Deltascape, the normal mode version of the encounters, with the Savage mode coming in 2 weeks. We have the introduction of yellow scripts, and we have a few quality of life changes, some of which have been heavily asked for since the launch of Stormblood 2 weeks ago. So, going into patch 4.01, obviously we have these quests right here. The Hunt for Omega, obviously the quest that you're going to need to do in order to unlock the Deltascape for Omega. There were some job adjustments here, mostly aimed at the lower levels and some other minor things they felt could use some fixing. For example, Savage Blade, Flash, Skull Sunder, Overpower, Unleash, and Spinning Slash all had their enmity effects increased. Heavy Swing had its TP cost reduced, which is pretty nice, I suppose. It's something for Warrior, at least. And Blood Spiller had its potency buffed from 380 to 40 at base, and its Dark Arts from 520 to 540. Taking a quick glance over at Reddit, as someone who is not a Dark Knight expert, people are talking about how this math works into the Blackest Night and how efficient it is to use. So I'll have further information about that probably in a later update. But from what I'm seeing, it's closer to being useful Blackest Night in terms of a DPS increase, whereas before using Blackest Night was a DPS loss in terms of the cost of MP and whatnot. Ninja also got a buff of Bavakakra from 550 to 600 potency, which really shocks me. I didn't think Bavakakra was really in need of that, but you know, I wonder what the reason for that isolated change is, like why that exact change. And on top of that, for Troubadour, for Bards, it now affects self and nearby party members, which is something I felt was necessary. I don't think Bards need their crit buff on themselves and their battle voice buff on themselves, but Troubadour, absolutely they should be having that on themselves, especially because it's mitigation related. Now that's all the job changes for 4.01. However, I'd like to sidetrack a little bit here. There was a post over on the official forums explaining some of their goals for 4.01 and 4.05. So the changes they made to enmity management are mentioned here, just in 4.01. There are going to be further adjustments in 4.05. Intended to improve job usability and fine-tuning various actions and tweaking systems. So if you're someone who's looking for example, a warrior buff that makes it so... Sorry, there's like a web here on the top of my monitor. That's weird. If you're looking like a warrior buff, hoping that maybe changing stances isn't as punishing, or or maybe a scholar looking to get MP reductions, or the Fey gauge to be more useful. If you're expecting changes like that, there's no guarantee exactly what you're expecting will happen, but I would look for it in 2 weeks when Savage comes out. They're actually going to talk about it in the next live letter, which is scheduled for July 15th. So you'll get the information the weekend before Omega Savage actually comes out. On top of that, they're talking about balancing DPS roles. They're going to be making some adjustments, but like myself, they're not overly concerned with Samurai's damage output. However, they do mention Dragoon's damage output. It's being so much lower because of things like Dragon Sight and Battle Litany and Disembowel, which is somewhat reasonable. We'll have to see how it ends up working and the value of the job going into Omega Savage. But we'll have to see. They'll make some changes in 4.05, but probably don't expect too much crazy changes. Also, finally, damage calculations for tank rolls. They do have changes rolling out in 4.05. However, they are keeping it strength related. So they are going to be making some sort of change. And they don't want people using those I-270 strength accessories. Numerous measures have been put forth and will be addressed in 4.05. So don't get too used to those strength accessories. They probably are going to be gone in terms of efficiency in 4.05. Or more specifically, you won't value them as much. My guess would be that maybe tanking accessories might get some strength on them, but there's nothing to say 100% for certain that is what will happen. They just don't want people, they clearly don't want people using the 270 strength accessories, which I kind of agree with. Like, it's kind of ridiculous that that's meta at this point. Again, here's Omega Deltascape. Now, the big thing here is people were wondering if the loot system was going to work similar to the Creator Normal or Alexander Normal in general. The answer appears to be yes. It only has a minimum item level of 295. So that's almost definitely... The items aren't actually in the patch notes, but they're most definitely going to be like item level 320 based on that minimum item level alone. So Into the Deltascape will be the quest. hunting for Omega's the first quest. Into the Deltascape will probably be like the second or third quest in the quest line. So whenever you clear a piece or a section of the Deltascape, whether it be V1, V2, V3, or V4, you can roll on items lens, shaft, crank, chain, spring, pedal, or bolt. And you can exchange these items for actual gear by taking them back to the NPC in Rhalgr's Reach. Gelfridus is the name of the NPC in Rhalgr's Reach. I wonder if that's the Primal Exchange vendor. I don't remember. So it's pretty simple. Each different floor will have different drops. I can't remember the exact drops for Alexander. The shaft will drop from V4, almost definitely. I think it's shaft and spring from V4. I think it's spring and crank from V3. Maybe lens also. I think it's bolts. I'm not going to try to guess. Basically, each different part drops different ones. I just can't remember. It's been too long since Creator Normal at this point. Just as you're going through, keep in mind that these are the translation rates for the drops from normal mode. And, okay, yeah, 4 weeks still to get a body piece. That makes sense. Also, players will also receive a crystalloid once per week. I'm sure that we'll need 7 of these to get a weapon if you're not going to be competing in Omega Savage. Weapons will be available for exchange after the introduction of Allagan Tomestones of Creation, which are scheduled to be released in 2 weeks after 4.01. You can get 1 of these crystalloids once per week, and like I said, I'd imagine you'll need 7 crystalloids and the requisite number of Allagan Tomestones of Creation in order to get what is considered an Omega Savage weapon through an easier means. Let's see, early model tomestones are used in the purchase of new weapons. Early model tomestones. Okay, well, whatever. Wait a minute. Oh, okay, never mind. Early model tomestones are the name of the tomestone you use to get the weapon. Okay, that's the one you'll get after 7 crystalloids. Got it. Average item level for Mentor Roulette has been raised in tandem with Deltascape being introduced. They made PvP EXP adjustments. So class job EXP in PvP encounters is based on match duration, and victories and losses will now award different amounts of EXP. So that's not to say that people will not AFK, because free EXP is still free EXP. That being said, this is exactly the change I wanted, more so the victories and losses thing than the match duration. But the match duration thing is okay too, because it means that if you're stuck in the match for a longer period of time, you're at least being rewarded more. It's an EXP based on time and effort, as opposed to EXP based on presence, which is, in my opinion, the better way of handling the PvP EXP. Strength of certain open world enemies has been adjusted. I don't know which enemies, if those are just like standard leveling enemies. I personally think the S-rank hunts from Realm Reborn are dying in under 6 seconds. Probably could use some love. The location and behavior of certain enemies has been adjusted. Interesting. The names of certain enemies have been changed. Oh, not this again. And new items can now be obtained from silver trim sacks. Oh, Palace of the Dead people, get to it. There's no mention of them adding the final hunt monsters here. For those who didn't know, the Fringes and the Peaks have 2 S-rank hunts that aren't in the game for the first several weeks. They did the same thing with Kaiser Behemoth and Bird of Paradise back in Heavensward. So I'm curious if any of these changes have any sort of influence on that, but it doesn't seem like they do. It's all 4.x areas, so it's not even, you know, stuff for any of the old areas, so maybe. New items have been introduced. Unfortunately, items added in 4.01a will be listed at a later date. Oh, okay. Well, this is 4.01, so 4.01a is probably on Thursday, if I had to take a guess. So we have the Omega. Well, no, this is crafting gear, and this is gathering gear. So actually, it looks pretty good. Yeah. I recognize these from the artwork from before. Attributes have been adjusted for certain gear, so that's interesting to me, because I would have immediately assumed that had to do with the strength accessories, but with the comment they made earlier, I'm not 100% convinced. Yellow gatherer scripts and crafter scripts have been added to the game. You can get 2,000 scripts at one time, and you can convert them into Royan's tokens. If you're a crafter or gatherer, you know how this script game works at this point. You get more gil for collectibles. Ooh, they added the Magitech Reaper mount. I wonder if this comes from the Deltascape. I mean, that would be my first guess, would be that it would come from the Deltascape, but it is a Garlean one, so we'll have to see. New minions have been added. I'm assuming actually that would come from the Deltascape more so. Delta Force and clearing the Deltascape a certain number of times. They added font and UI options for PS4, so you can see you have the chat prompt font size. And then on top of that, you also have the log details tab, and then you also have the UI system. You have the user interface size. They added all that because after the launch of Stormblood, people had ridiculous looking sizes on their PS4s. So good changes for them, because it's just something that was kind of annoying to even look at. If you're like watching a live stream of someone playing on PS4, sorry Sly, it was really annoying. Keybind descend will automatically be set to control space. New music has been added. So normally I don't go over resolved issues, but there are a few really important ones. For one, there's the issue with Susano normal mode, where people were basically getting permanently locked out of the game, which hasn't really been something people have been talking about anymore, but it was still an issue, so they've resolved it. Let's see. Players cannot progress through quests under certain conditions. Fate Monster would stop further enemies from spawning. An issue where the Bard action battle voice had no effect when used immediately after the other songs. And in addition to addressing this issue, party members are no longer required to be under the effects of a song. So the battle voice bug thing is going to be gone. An issue wherein lilies were not added to a white mage's healing gauge, even when requirements for obtaining lilies were met. You know, I noticed that, but I didn't actually think it was a bug. I thought I was just doing something wrong. An issue where an action help text for Dark Knight's action blood price did not accurately state the conditions. An issue where in the PvE action Bava Chakra dealt physical damage. Oh. That's still, I guess, is that why they buffed it 50 potency? I don't know. We'll see. It's kind of weird. I guess it technically does magic damage, so keep that in mind. Issue wherein damage dealt when using the machinist action Rook Overdrive did not appear in the battle log. An issue wherein description of status inflicted by the machinist action Dismantle was incorrect. An issue wherein the action Fey Union would always restore critical HP under certain conditions. Yeah, that was a pretty nice bug though. Fey Illumination was incorrect. You would stop auto-attacking after Feint. Auto-attack did not engage after using leg graze. A lot of little changes here, but the battle voice one was really the one that I wanted to talk about the most. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it. That's patch 4.01 patch notes. Now, I know some of you are wondering, man, where's housing in this patch notes? Well, I'm going to be having a separate video on it, but if you didn't know, there was an official interview with Famitsu from E3, where Yoshi P said sometime during the 4.1 series would actually be the timing for Shirogane. So you still got several months before the housing is going to come out. Like a standalone video, because not everyone's going to make it to this point in this video. Most people don't. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'm going to go get ready for the servers to go live for Deltascape. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned. We'll be keeping you up to date with guides on Omega Deltascape, as well as all the news that's going to be coming out over the next few weeks, plus a few things I've still got in store for you myself. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.